The government is openly training to confiscate our weapons, openly demonizing the founding fathers, openly demonizing families, openly demonizing free market, local businesses, while signing us on to trillions upon trillions upon trillions of foreign debt that isn't even ours, bailing out foreign banks, sending 5,000, it was 3,000, 2,000 more, troops into hot zones to do nothing but catch Ebola and bring it back. Don't even clean up people's houses and streets covered in vomit from a Ebola victim, his family not even quarantined for at least 6 days, allowed to keep going to public school. A false flag, a staged event, whether they souped up the Ebola or not. And by the way, we have that 1990 clip from Nova where they were talking about airborne Ebola spreading in a facility into a whole other area of the building and killing monkeys. And people can argue, well, it's probably roaches or mites in the ventilation. Doesn't matter. That's how it spreads out here. Ebola used to gestate or incubate over 3 or 4 days. Now it's 21, 22. So you can spread it. It's spreading much worse. It is a real pandemic now. And Africa, areas of Africa are collapsing. Other African countries have sealed their borders, not us. We're known as the schmuck zone or the chump zone, the joke zone. Come here if you have Ebola. We're the place. I mean, they'll have regular army at a high school football game to randomly search everyone to train them to be slaves and to train the military to accept it. And then the border is wide open. It's just all a complete joke. All a complete joke. Our government loads the illegals on the buses at the border, gives them vouchers and ships them wherever they want to go. We broke that a month before the New York Times had to admit it. I'm not bragging, we broke that. My point is the mainstream media is in on this, folks. Where's the mainstream media saying, why won't you quarantine? Why won't you shut the border? Why won't you shut the flights? Because in a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. I'm not even as concerned about the Ebola, even though I'm really starting to get concerned, as I am about how government acts so mentally ill. Jason, Monique, Kevin, S.A., Spiro, we're going to all of you. Trudy, Charlie, Tanya, the Indico Kid, Paul, we're going to all of you. Jason in Minnesota, go ahead. All right, going to move along. Jason, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing, Alan?
Good, brother.
I just want to say thank you very much. I've been awake for many, many years, since way back. You're awesome. Keep spreading the word. I wish I could go down there and join you. About everything you talk about is spot on. People need to wake up. This Ebola thing, you look at the Georgia Guidestones, they put a 2014 block in there, and that's all about depopulation. You got Bill Gates and George Soros who fund the biometric lab in Sierra Leone where it outbreaks.
I know.
And these guys are so lackadaisical.
And they're coming out with a vaccine.
Speaking of vaccines, my mom refused. I was born in 1970. It was toward the end of where they had the shot. She refused. She would not let them inject me with anything. She told me for many, many years, do not trust the government. I grew up that way. I don't have any children of my own because I've been nervous and scared about the whole government, everything that's going on. You've hit the nail on the head with everything. I love you for that. You got Weibos that clank. I mean...
Well, please don't thank me, brother, but I appreciate your call. Great points. I don't judge anybody who decides not to have children. I get it. But I'm doubling down. That's why I have 3 children. I'm going to commit to the future and not just decide it's all lost. But I get your point.
Stand up with the fight. I want to do what I can. And if it's part of your regime to help spread the word, I'm all for it.
All right, well, keep it up, brother. Well, it's not my regime. Thank you. I'm just one guy concerned about what I see globalists doing. And I call them globalists. This guild of criminals and control freaks that manipulate all the good people in private and public society. Most people in government don't even know what's going on. They're like the public. But it's getting so obvious now. Monique in Quebec, Canada. Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Alex.
Hi.
Alex, I think this is a false flag, and I'm sure of that. I tend to believe, like Robert David Steele, when he was on your show on September 18, he said that the next big false flag will be a simulated Ebola attack. But in fact,
you know what's funny? I forgot that Robert David Steele, who's a well-known CIA field commander, I mean, in actual operations, not sitting around in an office feeling powerful. He actually said, didn't he say he thought they'd do a simulated bio attack on air?
Right, and he said that they would use instead biochemical weapons that will dissipate and pretend it is Ebola. And I think even in Africa...
I know, I just forget how much devastating predictions we have here. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and even in Africa, I think it will dissipate, but they're letting them die for now to scare us. And the reason why they're doing this is because in the U.S., the economy will crash soon, and they don't want any chaos in the street. So they will take your guns, they will do everything, put you in FEMA camps and everything like that. And that's why they're doing it. Don't believe it. Of course, some people will die in the U.S., but it will be because of the biochemical weapons that will dissipate. And that's why they're not worried to send troops.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like they give all the kids these shots in August, and now the mystery illness starts killing kids everywhere, and they're all vaccinated kids that are dead or dying with this respiratory illness. It's so obvious, and I forgot that one of my big Pentagon sources said get Steele on if you really want to know what's going on. That was Colonel Schaefer, who ran the project to kill bin Laden and was blocked twice from doing it. Super high level, super connections. Just briefed Congress secretly the day he was on 3-4 weeks ago. He says get Steele on. Steele comes on like 3 days later. We need to get him back on this week, ASAP. And says, I believe they're going to have an airborne simulated Ebola release that'll really be a simulant that'll kill or sicken people to create hysteria. And I think he was basically... See, a lot of times those guys won't tell you what they know because obviously then that'll let people know where the source came from. Their source. They'll just say, oh, I think this is going to happen. And that is, yeah, what day was he on again, ma'am?
He was there on September 18, and I want to tell you something else. You know what? It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you because people will be afraid to buy your LT products because they'll say, oh, my God, it's coming from Texas, and Texas is alleged Ebola, and they'll be afraid, but the packing, the shipping, the...
Oh, that's another thing. The fact that they've chosen Texas, and clearly they've allowed this to happen, so bare minimum they're behind it, just from there. Open borders, shutting down our power plants, mainly Texas plants, having Ebola set up here, not sending aid during wildfires. It's because the state is not blue. And it's not a Republican-Democrat issue with me, but it is with the establishment. Really great points, ma'am. Thank you so much. We have only begun to see the string of plagues the globalists are going to release or open the door for. Economic plagues, spiritual plagues, biological plagues, war. I want to go back to your phone calls and just race through them. Spiro, Trudy, Charlie, Tanya, Indico, Paul, Kevin. We're going to get to all of you. The good news is people in the system are more awake now than people outside the system. The most awake people now are in government or in the big, powerful corporations because they're somewhat decompartmentalized compared to the public. And so, you know, the last 5-6 years is when I've begun to figure this out because it was the process of that unfolding. It wasn't always so, but now it is so. So there's a lot of good things happening as well. I don't want to be overly negative here, but we have to admit how dire our straits are if we have a chance to turn this around. I mean, they're going to bring Ebola in here, let it spread on purpose, turn off all the default settings, and then try to make us take a Ebola vaccine they're pushing now? That's on the horizon? No. No. It's too obvious. And while we're busy looking at Ebola, the real issue are these different respiratory viruses that are wiping people out all over the place. That's why I said in December right through January when I lost 3 family members, 2 of them that were healthy, to the same mystery respiratory illness that ate their lungs and killed them. My uncle, my cousin, and my great uncle. That I couldn't get rid of it for over a month, even with antibiotics. I personally drank a couple bottles of colloidal silver, and I think that's what finally knocked it out. Got a lot of sun, you name it. My dad has never been sick for 2 months. He was sick for 2 months. The hospitals were overflowing all over Texas, all over the country, but no news media national. Only local news articles. Mystery respiratory illness hits Houston. Mystery health illness hits Tyler, Texas. Mystery illness hits Dallas. I mean, it was bad. Mystery illness hits Kansas City. It hit the Midwest and Texas really bad. And my gut told me, man, whether this is real or manufactured, these superbugs, these viruses and bacteria are getting stronger. And of course, that's admitted. And I said, I got to get myself ready. What I do is I'm getting more sun, drinking purified water, trying to exercise more, trying to get right with God, trying to eat organic, trying to get my sleep. And I'm taking colloidal silver, the highest pure quality. I am taking Super Male Vitality from InfoWarsLife.com. I'm taking the Survival Shield Nascent Iodine that is known. You can read all the nutrimedical details at InfoWarsLife.com, but is known to get your glands going and to block a lot of the toxic garbage that's out there, because you have all these toxic halogens like fluorine and fluoride and bromide and that are being put in our food and water. This goes in and actually blocks that on record in the thyroid, you name it. It's not just about blocking radiation or particular radioactive isotopes. This is an essential element in the body, and Americans and others are chronically deficient. X2, the only deep earth crystal source of this. The rest comes out of seaweed, which is better than nothing. This is proprietary, InfoWarsLife.com. And I personally, for my immune system and my health, the Super Silver Bullet, which is a super form well, just go read about it for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Silver Bullet, colloidal silver, available at InfoWarsLife.com. The Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine, True Nascent Iodine, InfoWarsLife.com. And when you try the products, you've heard the rave reviews, people calling in unsolicited. When you try it, we have almost got no negative reviews. We've never seen health products, supplement products I've been involved with for a long time have reviews that are 98%, 99%. And those are on third-party sites out there. People have seen it. You've experienced it. You've heard the listeners. Try it. Bare minimum, you're funding our operation. Bare minimum, you're helping us run our news division, the news websites, the nightly news, the syndicated radio, the films, the breaking news reports, sending our reporters around the country and the world to bring you hard-hitting info, to expose the open border. All the huge national, international stories we break is due to you spreading the word and buying the fine products, the Pro Pure G2 filters that basically cut everything out or bring it down to non-detectable levels. You can get that massively discounted with promo code WATER, 10% off at InfoWarsStore.com, 888-253-3139. And again, I want to thank you all for your support. Each nightly news membership to get the commercial-free podcast, to see the show live, special reports, decades of material and information in HD, PrisonPlanet.tv. One membership's $5.95 a month. 11 people can use it. Nobody can beat that. It only pays for the bandwidth. So I want to thank you if you are a member, or encourage you if you're not a member to become a PrisonPlanet.tv member today. Because we are funded by we the people, by you. Free market, free association, not a gun to your head like the IRS taking your money and giving it to NPR, $400+ million a year, or stimulus money taken by the IRS given to MSNBC to give Rachel Maddow a raise. We are funded by free will, by you out there. Let's go back to some calls. Spiro in Washington, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, I just wanted to bring up a couple points. You're absolutely right about the time that we're living in right now. It's pretty profound, even astrologically and everything. Blood moons, everything. They think that there's a window of opportunity, and everything is accelerating. The awakening and the technocrats' agenda, everything's accelerating.
Well, exactly. Even if you don't believe in astrology or astrophysics or all the things they mesh together, science and stuff that's pseudoscience, that's ancient, that the science has come out of, the elites believe in lunar eclipses. They believe in Mars being close to the Earth. They believe in all of this stuff, blood moons. They are obsessed with it and moving on all fronts.
Absolutely. I want to bring up MH17. There was a WHO, I think he was a spokesman for the WHO, Glenn Thomas, along with, he was an Ebola expert. He was on MH17 that was diverted right over to the Crimea region, right over by the Kiev Tower, and shot down. So these globalists, they have multifaceted attacks that it's not one bird, two stone, or, one stone, two birds. They get to take out any resistance, any type of doctors that would have the means and the knowledge to fight, and expose what's really happening right now. They were on their way. 100 scientists were on their way.
That's right. It was 100 plus top virologists were on the plane. We just showed the London Guardian headline.
Right. Glenn Thomas was one of them. He was apparently an Ebola expert with the WHO.
Yes.
I also want to bring up the meningitis vaccines that were taking place in West Africa. They apparently coincided right before this Ebola outbreak happened.
Of course. I mean, it's even in Bloomberg that it was the bird flu vaccine that killed a whole bunch of people and started some of the big flu outbreaks 5 years ago. I mean, that's the thing, is this all ends up even being in mainstream news. It's not like that's our opinion, but the public is just not paying attention. They're like, hey, is it on Sports Center? All right, well, it's manly for me to know all the sports scores, Alex. I don't want to know about bird flu, okay? You go over there, sissy, and you talk about that. I'm going to go over here and act cool right now. I'm going to go tailgate. I'm going to cry if UT loses to Baylor. Boo-hoo. I mean, it doesn't matter, folks. It's all there to distract you. We're losing our freedom because we become a bunch of chumps. Our forebears would look at us today and laugh at us like decadent Romans in the decline of the Roman Empire watching our bread and circus. It's so sick how men will corner you in an elevator and go, what do you think about Dallas Cowboys? What do you think? I'm sorry, I don't follow that. I'm not manly. I'm not manly like you. There's about 8 different major Ebola vaccines in the pipeline to be ready by next year. Bill and Melinda Gates are leading the pack with Monsanto. And isn't that perfect timing that they're letting Ebola patients in and letting people fly in from Africa? And now the CDC saying, quote, Dallas Ebola outbreak could widen. Gee, think so? And then whenever people have it, they won't even clean their house or stop their kids going to school. Oh, but when your kid's got a cold, they tell you don't come to school. But, government does it. It's okay. So all I say is roll up your sleeves, take those vaccines. Because remember, the CDC said mercury's good for your child's brain. By the way, people won't believe that. We played it probably 400 times, but just cue up mercury's good for your brain. I'm going to play that in a minute. I'm the conspiracy theorist. I actually have scientists on and point out it's the most deadly heavy metal to the brain. But here's that CBS News clip.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. There have been widespread concerns that mercury-based preservatives in vaccines might impair the neurological development of children. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
There you go. And, of course, now the authors of those studies have gone public at the CDC saying they were ordered to lie to everyone. Well, I don't need you to tell me it was a fraud. There are literally thousands of previous studies of what mercury does to a brain. I'm done. And they go, well, it's in tuna fish. Yeah, and you pass almost all that out. It's bound. Not injected right into the bloodstream of a newborn baby. Almost everyone with an autistic kid at 18 months, they get the 3rd round, the child stops running, it stops playing, the kid's potty trained, not anymore. They sit in the corner and they drool. But, the government loves us. I know. And they're going to take care of all your pension funds and all your guns and everything. Don't worry. Good people are running things, everyone. Everything's going to be fine. Just do what you're told. Insider from FEMA Region 6. I'm in former Texas. That's in FEMA Region 6. What former state are you in, Insider?
I'm in former state Tex. I work for the regional agency in formerly known as San Antonio, Texas. One of my duties is public health emergency preparedness planning. The reason I know the Ebola outbreak is being conducted on purpose is it violates all protocols. I used to be involved in the Hurricane Katrina and Rita response of the evacuees. I also was involved in planning for smallpox outbreak in Bexar County. The proper response would be the National Guard would seal off Bexar County. Law enforcement and emergency services would redirect the population to all hospitals, churches, and other government agencies where they would be screened. If they were sick, they would be isolated at a former military base until the sickness had passed or they died, everyone else would be forcibly vaccinated. There would be no exceptions and no travel in and out of Bexar County. So the fact that they're allowing people to travel into the United States and they are not locking down the city of Dallas tells me this is by design.
Well, yes, sir. I don't need to be an emergency manager like you to know that, because that's always been the default in the United States Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency national program manuals. But people do tend to listen to experts. We love to get your perspective on this. What are your colleagues saying? It's always been default protocol. Don't let people with Ebola fly in. It's always been quarantine countries that have a major outbreak. That's what everybody else has done. It's always been don't bring Ebola patients into the U.S., treat them in third-party countries or on ships. Why do you think the defaults have been brought off, and what are your colleagues saying?
My colleagues are saying that the travel should have been ceased, that the outbreak should have been contained in Africa, through the military, through the United Nations, and whatever other agencies would help contain it. The fact that it's being allowed to travel to the United States is insane. The fact that the emergency operations have not been activated is insane. And this is on purpose and by design.
And I feel guilty every minute that I'm not up here freaking out more. I mean, I don't know what we do, though, when we have a criminal federal government that just, whatever's evil, you can guess they're going to do it. How are they going to get away with it when this starts, God forbid, spreading everywhere? How will they get away with opening it up to do this? I just don't understand it.
There are many competent people in the CDC, the military, and emergency management offices that need to blow the whistle. They're being ordered to stand down from the top.
Clearly, Rick Perry would score 1 billion political points and do the right thing if he'd have come out last Wednesday at that press conference, 2 days after it was announced, a day and after it was announced, and said, ladies and gentlemen, the president needs to cease flights or at least put heavy screening in on West African flights inbound to the United States. None of that's done. Bobby Jindal finally yesterday came out, and on Friday came out and said exactly what I've been saying. Why is he the only one saying the default common sense thing?
I think there's a large amount of corruption. I think a large amount of government officials are either being blackmailed or are part of the system. They need to wake up.
I hear you. And I guess the American people have green-lighted the establishment doing over-the-top stuff like this because they never get in trouble. They never get in trouble for the bad stuff they do. And I'm fed up. I mean, nobody in my family better get this, because I have just, and all these kids getting sick and dying if they got vaccinated with these mystery respiratory illnesses. I mean, I have had enough. And the establishment needs to know we know who to blame here. Bare minimum, they stood down on purpose. It's incredible. Thank you for the call. So evil. So crazy. So out of control. Why? Why? Well, because we got a bunch of exterminists, genocidalists, eugenicists that run things. I mean, that's who they are. That's their club. Remember the ABC News headline 5 years ago? Super rich meet in secret to discuss how to reduce population. Bill and Melinda Gates, Ted Turner, Prince Charles, all of them. And they all got a bunch of kids and, like, have the biggest footprint you can imagine. They're a bunch of greedy elitists that think we're a bunch of dumb scum that deserve to die. And you know what? We act like dumb scum. They announce what they're going to do everywhere, and then we just say, oh, thank you. Let me buy my granny a teacup with the British family on it. I mean, come on, they're not even British. They're Transylvanian. The Indigo Kid in Colorado. What former state region is that under FEMA, I wonder? I forget. Is it 7 or 8 or something? Indigo Kid, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I actually talked to you and Robert Steele the other day. It's kind of funny I'm back on now, but I was going to say my dad is really waking up to this Ebola stuff. He's ahead of all this anti-biological attack stuff at the Air Force Academy. And so the yes men are waking up, but there's a lot of Hitler Youth Brigades within groups like Homeland Security, people my age, they're like 22, who get hired through the litmus testing and all that, who would be more than willing to go through with all this. And I think that's an issue, like Homeland Security knocking on your door saying, oh, this is just a quarantine drill. We're going to escort you to your local FEMA facility to just process you, and then you won't be allowed to leave. So I think the drills are really more an issue. And with California saying they're going to take guns from potential threats, and MSNBC saying what they did about
That's right. They're using this as a smokescreen. They're moving on every front. This is the globalist offensive to take down our liberty, to set the precedent. There'll be more shoes to drop, more balloons to go up. Just we're entering a time of unprecedented insanity right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're entering a time of unprecedented, out of control insanity. Infowars.com, prisonplanet.com will continue to try to be at the very tip of the spear exposing this, because I just want to live in a free country. I just want to have a future. And everybody's gullibility and oh, it's a conspiracy theory to question government. Look where it's gotten us. You're supposed to question government. You're supposed to question corporations. You're supposed to not be trustful. You're supposed to be involved. George Washington said government is like fire, a dangerous servant and a fearful master. A candle can be real nice. It can also burn your house down. Well, our house is burning down right now. And all you government people and bureaucrats and corporate people that think you're invincible, you're sitting in this house, too. I know most of you know that. But, by the way, I should have had that whistleblower and emergency management. I mean, we already know the default says what he said, but it's just good to have the insiders saying it. Any insiders or not even whistleblowers, people that just want to give their comment as professionals. It's a loaded term, whistleblower. People go, oh, I don't want to get in trouble. No, I mean, the default is you don't do what they're currently doing. It's like putting screen doors on submarines, as I said earlier. Or, you know, building a fire in the middle of your wooden floor at your house, you're not in the fireplace. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Is why it's like Bobby Jindal said, the governor. He said they are defying logic right now. That's what globalism is defying logic, common sense. So, whistleblowers at Infowars.com. Show tips at Infowars.com. We've got our writers going through it. Send us your tips. Send us your documents. Send us your own manuals. Because we may have the federal manuals. It's good to see a San Antonio manual, you know, saying what the default is and showing it's not happening. But my gut tells me Ebola is spreading right now in the United States. And they'll probably give Obama a peace prize or something for it. All right, God bless you all. Great job with the crew. Back live tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, God willing. Alex Jones here to break down some exciting developments in the area of research concerning supplemental iodine. It's nothing less than phenomenal. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. And I used some of the mainline iodine supplements and they upset my stomach and I had some issues with it. Until I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group, who I was already interviewing as an expert on my radio show, and I began taking the product before he actually rolled it out. You now know it as Survival Shield, true nascent iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals that are incredibly powerful that no one else has as a source for their iodine from between 7,000 and 12,000 feet, literally drilled out of the ground. You put it on a hot plate and it turns into the pure gas. No one else has 99.99% pure iodine. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. I was over 270 pounds. And with the iodine, exercise, and better diet, I have lost now more than 50 pounds total, and I'm continuing to lose the weight. I have more energy, my libido, all this crap came out of my skin. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating. This is trailblazing. And the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.